Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So my classic album inspection today is Powerage by AC/DC. Obviously that's the Bon era, not the Brian, but we'll put a bit of a cap on in honour of that. It's released 5th of May 1978. It's 39 minutes and 47 seconds long. Not a very successful album at the time, and it's still one of DC's lowest selling albums. It's certificated worldwide sales of 1.7 million. It's probably sold more than that. It's probably closer to 3 million, 2.5, 3. But for whatever reason, it didn't do quite as well for the band. There's quite a lot of pressure on them to get success, obviously, and that came with Highway to Hell. But it made number 133 in the US and 23 in the UK. Vanda and Young produced it. So how does this differ from the albums that came before? Well, like Let There Be Rockets, it abandons the sort of comedy and slightly sort of post-glam elements of the high voltage TNT, the amalgamated high voltage European release, and Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. But what it has better than Let There Be Rock, although Let There Be Rock's got 5 sort of live staples on it, is the production's better, particularly the tuning on the guitars. And there's just something about the whole shape of the album. It's really down and dirty, but well recorded, well captured. I think why it's not as well known an album, although it's obviously amongst diehard fans, is because it's got loads of great deep cuts, but it probably lacks like a typical signature cut. Back in Black's got Back in Black and Hell's Bells and Shoot the Thrill. Highway to Hell's got the title track, for instance. Let There Be Rock's got the title track and a whole lot of Rosie. Dirty Deeds has got the title track. High Voltage has got A Long Way to the Top, TNT, the title track, and so on. And this starts with a Rock and Roll Damnation, which was a minor sort of hit in the UK. That was the first UK appearance, probably on Top of the Pops for DC. And it's got chocker of great tracks and some live tracks that they played, things like Sin City and Riff Raff. Of course, Riff Raff opens If You Want Blood, You Got It. They're great. A live album which was done on this tour, I believe. But for whatever reason, because it seems to lack that kind of track, it just got maybe overlooked at the time. But rest assured, this is a great record. It's Cliff Williams' first album, and I think that's something you notice on it. Aside from the guitars being tuned better, each recorded sounds better. Cliff Williams' bass playing just kind of sits in with the drums better, and it's got a better drum sound. You can see that Phil Rudd and Cliff Williams are connected in a way that Mark Evans and Phil Rudd didn't. Not that they didn't connect, but there's just more of a connection here. In actual fact, Mark Evans was fired in May of 1977, so Cliff Williams had quite a bit of time to bed in before recording this album. Some of Bond's greatest lyrics on this, but it opens with Rock and Roll Damnation through its 37 seconds. This is the most poppy track. It's got hand claps. You can really hear Cliff's backing vocals alongside Malcolm's on this. It's probably the weakest track on the album, in actual fact, but it's really catchy, and the album needs that, I guess. It's got a cool kind of picked intro. So it's a really cool opener. Actually, had this on single when I was a kid, one my brother did, and that was a pretty cool pitch sleeve. Track 2's maybe, for me, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, AC/DC track. It's Down Payment Blues. Brilliant lyric by Bon. He catches that thing where everyone's been skinned at some time in their life. If you're not, lucky and privileged, and you're on your downers, on your uppers, as I say. And it's just about them having the money. He's saying he's got a Cadillac, but he can't afford to put the gasoline in and things like that. It's great how this starts off with just a simple chord progression and then builds up and there's key changes. And when it kicks in, you can really hear the balance on the instruments. You can hear that they've got a really nice thud, but a nice crack to Phil Rudd's drums. Cliff Williams' bass is pumping, and the guitars of Angus and Malcolm are brassy, but the separation on left and right is really good, but they've got enough bottom end so they're not too scratchy. And then Bond's vocals just sit really dry in the kind of centre of the mix. Really good. Nice kind of cool 12-bar blues type breakdown at the end of this track as well. Next up's Gone Shooting. No, it's not. It's Give Me a Bullet, sorry. So Give Me a Bullet's next, 3 minutes 21 seconds. This is great. Again, you can really hear Cliff's bass on this and how that's improved things. He's got a nice pumping bass line. Slightly different groove for DC. Really good. Guitar sound great. Again, 3 minutes 21, just, the influence of George Young and Harry Vanda cannot be overestimated here. They helped the band focus their songs into what they needed to be. This track, it just zips by, really good. And side one of the original vinyl finishes with Riff Raff. So this has got the stunning version on the If You Want Blood live album, which check out that album if you've not heard it. It's one of the great albums of all time. Single live album, like Unleashed in the East. This is 5 minutes 12. Again, just a really cool kind of Chuck Berry type of riff, but spun into the late 70s. You know, probably, I don't know if it was Angus or Malcolm wrote it, but yeah, this is great. Really cool lyric. Great lead guitar by Angus. Again, as well, Angus's solos are a little more focused here. He's starting to get more structure into them, get more hooks into them. Side 2 opens with Sin City. This is probably one of the better known tracks on the album. This is great. Really simple chord progression. You know, if you're learning guitar, just learn the riff to Sin City and you'll pick out 3 open power chords in a fretted one, and it'll get you going. You can play a lot of AC/DC songs that way. It's got great breakdown after the solo, this, with the cool bass on Cliff and then Bon doing his little kind of speech. Really love this track, all-time classic. Next track is What's Next to the Moon. So this is really cool. It's kind of got a clean guitar on this at the start, I think. 3 minutes 32. Really good lyrics on this. I like the hook. It's a love that I want, you know. Just zips by. Another classic deep cut album track. Then you've got Gone Shooting next. This is one of the best tracks in the album. This has got probably the best groove on the whole record. So Cliff and Phil, Cliff's just pedalling, eighth notes. Phil's just putting 4 on the floor, and then Angus is just sort of chicken picking that lovely little kind of riff on the G and B string. Really good lyric by Bon. Great stuff, brilliant. Next track's Up to My Neck in You. It's probably the weakest track on the album. I think Rock and Roll Damnation's catchier. Still a good track, 4 minutes 13. It's probably like the kind of filler track, but it's good. And then the album finishes with Kicked in the Teeth. This is like a kind of like the Let There Be Rock groove, but it's short, it's 3 minutes 54. It's got a great open this, and Bon's on fire on this. And the band just lays down like a storming groove on this. So yeah, the album is just really well focused. In actual fact, early pressings had a track called Cold Hearted Man, I think, instead of Rock and Roll Damnation. But I believe this was rolled out properly with the same cover worldwide. Like a lot of AC/DC albums, sometimes things were being mixed later on, and then like different pressings were going out. But it's just like a perfect listen. It's perfectly contained. I would say How At Hell runs it very closely, but there's maybe like one track on How At Hell where it's just not as good, and a lot of people didn't like the polish that Mutt Lange brought in, and I like that, and I think the band needed to do that. But this album's maybe it's kind of raw polish, as it were. What they've done, they've taken the raw DC sound and perfected that. And in some ways, DC needed to go somewhere else after this, and they did, because they'd kind of reached the peak of their first sort of sound, and then the Highway to Hell album, really it takes the good elements of this and Let There Be Rock, and again, like I said, just puts that extra little polish on and refines the production. So yeah, if you're coming new to DC, this is the really deep cut album. This is like the fans' classic. It's one of the all-time great hard rock albums, no doubt about it. Powerage, 45 years old today. Check it out. Cheers.